Welcome to the Rocker Skating Podcast, presented by John Wilson Blades. And you know what? The Olympics is over. I'm very sad. I mean, I keep saying I've been here for like 5 months. But, you know, you never want the Olympics to be over. And it's over. The women's free skate just finished. And we have a new Olympic champion named Alysa Liu. I am still trying to process Olympic champion Alysa Liu in my brain for many reasons. But the biggest reason is that this is potentially the most impossible story that you could write. Between Alysa Liu and Deanna Stellato at these Olympics, the movie scripts are sort of writing themselves. Let me just go back 4 years. In 2022, Alysa Liu was so burned out, so out of love with figure skating, so just not into it, that she finished the Olympics and was so excited to just get out of there and and finish skating. And she went to Worlds and she won a world bronze medal and she said, "See you later. I'm going to retire." And then she realizes that she actually loves figure skating. And she came back. She came back only about 2 years ago and started skating again. She had her first competition a year and a half ago, and she won the World Championships in her comeback season. And then she comes and wins the Olympic title. I just don't understand how her brain works, because it is like she is completely invincible to pressure, negative pressure. I truly believe that she is very much a pressure person, but the pressure that she is under is positive pressure. I talk about this a lot in like the work that I do outside of figure skating, which is that I love stress. I guess I could talk about that with figure skating as well. I love stress, but I love motivational stress. It gets me more productive. It gets me to be at my best. It gets me excited about what I do. I hate negative stress because it's debilitating, right? And the thing that Alysa has is she, as much as she talks about how, like, oh, she's like sort of having a lot of fun and the medal doesn't mean anything to her, she is actually quite a competitive person, period. But again, all of that manifests itself in this, like, in just this lack of negative stress pressure that has fueled her to become what she has become. And I don't know if we have had more of a nonchalant Olympic champion ever. I mean, other people in other sports might tell me differently, but it just seems like an anomaly that we have an Olympic gold medalist who is literally just kind of waltzing around, like, just having a good time, and nothing seems to faze her. And it's just so amazing to watch. And it's been so amazing to watch her come back. and the story continues to just be pretty epic. Now, had everybody skated perfectly, would Alysa Liu have won? No. But she skated flawlessly. And she also got the unclear edge called on her flips, which didn't happen last year at Worlds. So had she gotten those two calls not called, she would have been a couple more points higher, and they were the right calls. Um, yeah, it just Alysa Liu, I tip my hat to you because you have exemplified the what it is like to just go out and skate for yourself and skate to love skating because you love skating. And there is just not anything else there for her. I was remarking at the end of the last practice today, Alyssa went out and did her bows and then went and grabbed her camera and started taking pictures. And there was still like 3 minutes left in the practice session. There were, I think it was Monet and Kaori who are still out there, like finishing their stroking exercises. She took pictures of her team. She took pictures of the arena. Then she went and like went to the other side, the judges' side, and wanted to just take the pictures of like the ice and all that. And then Kaori comes and makes a face and makes a pose, and she takes a picture of Kaori, and then Kaori goes and does her final bow, and she literally bows right at Alyssa, and she was taking pictures of it. Can't wait for the photos to come out. Um, so who does that? Who does that? Alyssa Liu does. Okay, I'm going to talk about what happened with the women's free skate, but I'm going to do a little bit of setup for what happened in the short program first, so we have a lot of context, um, so that we could talk about how this women's short program actually, or this women's free skate actually started. So 2 days ago, we had the women's short program, and it was a nervy set of skates. There were not too many who just skated like with freedom. And the two skaters who really put that out there, I would say even three skaters who put it out there kind of with a lot of just openness, right, were Ami Nakai, who was your leader after the short program, beautiful triple axel, skated like there was nothing going on, and she was just having the time of her life. Alysa Liu, who skated a great short program, was in third, 76.59, and Ami Nakai was a 78.71, so it was a two-ish point to a quarter point difference between those two. And then I would say Adelia Petrosian skated like nothing was really bothering her. She was in her first major senior international event and only her second senior international event period because of the ban on Russia and the ISU events. And so I thought she handled that really well. There were a bunch of mistakes from skaters who you would have expected to not make mistakes, and ranging from major to minor, right? So Amber Glenn made a major mistake, popping her triple loop into a double and then having a step sequence that was not so great, and frankly could have gotten a fall called on it because she slipped on one of her slides. The Jia Shin fell on her triple toe, and the two of them were 13th and 14th going into the free skate. Isabella Vito was skating a little bit small and tight. She was fine. She didn't make any major errors, but the fact that the grades of execution weren't super high made it that she ended up in 8th place going into the free skate. Um, Monet Chiba was a little bit tight as well. She could have gotten a bigger score. She has gotten a bigger score for her. She was in 4th place with a 74. Kaori Sakamoto was tight. I mean, she the first half of her program was just a bit nervy. The Lutz went a little bit awry. The flip toe was tighter than usual, and I think she got a Q on the toe. So she goes in 2nd place with a 77.23. So you're hearing those scores, right? It was very close. The top 3 were separated by 2.25 points, and then you had Monet Chiba at 74, so she was 2.5 points off of 3rd. And then from Adelia Petrosian, who was 5th with a 72.89, to Amber Glenn, who was 13th with a 67.39, we're talking about 5.5 points that separated those two. And there was a lot of room for people to move. And we knew that going into the free skate. We knew that just, based on what we've seen from these skaters, that it really would come down to definitely major errors, but it also was going to come down to minor things. Grades of execution, levels, um, rotations, edge calls, all of those things. And that's what happened. So that was 2 days ago. And the last couple of days of practices have been good. Like, nobody was going too crazy with um, with the pressure of the whole thing. I think the one that I was sort of a little bit nervous for was actually Lara Naki Gutman, because she's had a couple of not so great practices. She looked like she was not uh looked like she was getting tired, and that her practices felt a little bit tired. And so that was how we came into this to this field. First group came up, and they were kind of up and down. We started with 2 decent skates. Lorraine Shield, Livia Kaiser skated well. And then we had a really good skate from Ruyang Zhang, and she was the one who was leading the free skate going into the second group. And Tara and I talked about this 2 days ago on the podcast. We knew that the second group, the skaters ranked 13th to 18th, we knew that that group had the potential for fireworks, and we got so many fireworks in that group. Every one of those 6 skaters who was in that second group skated amazingly well. Lara Naki Gutman came out. Shark Naki was off the rails, and she had a couple of tight jumps, but this was probably one of the best that she has skated the Jaws program. And it has to feel good for her. It's been a long Olympics. It's a home Olympics. She made mistakes in the team event free skate and in the short program here 2 days ago, and she wasn't having the Olympics that she dreamed of, but she had a free skate that she can be proud of, and that was how we led off the second group. Olga Mikutina skated well. Yulia Sauter skated well. Ida Karhunen skated well. Jia Shin loves to skate close to the boards. She had a perfect program with the exception of the triple loop that she put her foot down and almost hit the boards on. I thought a few of those skaters were underscored. I would have had Olga Mikutina higher, Laura Naki Gutman. I think I scored them in my live scoring like 10 points higher than what they actually got. I would have had Jia Shin a little bit higher. Um, they skated really well. Those first five were just so good. And then we had Amber Glenn, and we know what happened in the short program. We know how disappointed she was. We know it's been it's been a whirlwind for her here in Milan, and she goes out and was a triple loop hand down away from a perfect program. It's still elusive, Amber Glenn, but as much as she would have loved to get that triple loop back, you know, she did an amazing job. She ended up with a 147.52 as her free skate score. So that triple loop and a level 2 step sequence, those cost her probably 3 or 4 points. She would have been in the 150, 151 range probably, if she would have skated clean. Uh, but she put it down, landed two triple axles, one in the short, one in the free, that were two of the best that she's done this week. And she's got to be proud of that. And deja vu from the World Championships last year. And she sits in that dreaded, at this point, leader's chair. I don't know if it's dreaded anymore, but you really are just kind of sitting out there watching everybody do their stuff and having to be like, oh, am I going to stay? So Amber Glenn was sitting in the leader's chair, and we knew she got a 2:14.91. We knew with a 2:14.91 that most of the rest of these women would not be able to catch her. Um, it would have been very close with a couple of them, but they needed to be perfect, perfect, perfect. And it wasn't quite perfect, perfect, perfect for a lot of them, but they were skating very well. I definitely was of the mindset that Amber Glenn would not be challenged until the final group, and that's what happened. But the second to last group was also very good. Um, Sofia Samodelkina came out and did a fantastic free skate, got more of the points and the components that she deserves, and what almost scored a 140. She should have scored over a 140. Um, but I think the trajectory of these scores is promising. Nina Pinzarone skated a very good free skate, better than she did at Euros, um, especially considering how her season has gone with injury and all that. Like this was a win for her. Nina Petrokina skated very well. Not quite the sort of booming skate that she had at the Europeans where she won, but it was still clean or near clean, and she goes up into right behind Amber Glenn actually by about 4 points after her skate. Heian Lee skated very well. Just a couple of calls, but the best that she's looked in a while. And then you got Isabel Levito, which if she had skated the way that she skated at nationals, it would have been a very different story. Um, but she went out there, and her warm up was fine. Her warm up was fine. Her practice this morning was fine. She goes out there and overcooks a triple flip and falls on it. Again, a little bit reminiscent of Worlds, where she did a triple flip, triple toe at the beginning and fell on it. Um, Salvaged the rest of the program, but it was just too much. And it was just she gave up too many points there, and then she doesn't put in a third combo. She had ample opportunity to put in a double toe somewhere, and she did not. Um, she doesn't practice it that way. I don't think it doesn't seem like the plan is there for if she were to miss something like that. Um, I think the sort of consensus perhaps with her coach, or her coaches, is that if she makes a mistake in the beginning, it would be probably on a triple toe. She would have done the combination and fallen on a triple toe or something. They were not prepared for the fall on the solo flip. So she lost a few points there. It wouldn't have made too much of a difference. Had she put a double toe onto something, she still would have been behind Jia Shin. But she finishes in 12th, and you know, it, it was a really good Olympics experience wise for Isabeau. Not a great Olympics, for her in the competition. It's unfortunate. Luna Hendricks had a good skate, just a single flip on her second triple flip, but the rest of it was clean. It was going to be tough either way with her because she only has four different triple jumps, right? She has the Lutz, the flip, the sow, and the toe. She does not do a triple loop. It was never a good jump for her. She did it maybe one season, and the loop isn't there for her, and she doesn't practice it anymore. And these days she front loads her program with the combo and a Lutz, so the back half is not as points driven as it used to be. So she needed to be really strong, and she was good, but not as good as she would want to be. Um, but still, right? She she still had a good Olympics. Third Olympics for Luna. She didn't even know if she was even gonna be able to come and skate at these Olympics, given that she had a couple of like minor injuries that bothered her for the last couple of weeks, and last week she literally was like, I don't know if I can come. So she made it, and she had her Olympic experience. She ended up in 14th, um, and that was the end of the second group, or the second to last group. So we go in to the final six with Amber Glenn in the lead, 2:14.91. Again, deja vu with Worlds, anyone? 2:14.91 for Amber Glenn. Nina Petrikina's in second, 2:10.82. Heian Lee, third, 2:10.56. These are big scores for like, it's already enough, right? It's already impressive for skaters to go over 200. To go over 210, I think there were 10 women in the world, many of them were Japanese, who went over 210 this season. Um, and so, you knew those were going to be big scores, and that it would be actually very tough to continue. Um, if you were in the final six, you still would have had to skate very well in order for you to figure in there. And so the first we got was Anastasia Gubanova, who, if we remember the team event free skate, she was incredibly good. And, she just had she had so many good skates these last couple of weeks with that team event free skate, with the short program here, in the individual event. And she just had one thing that just kind of took her out of the running. The triple Lutz, the first triple Lutz she stepped out of, and that cost her a good 2 to 3 points probably. And in the team event, she scored a 140, and here, she got a 138. So that was the difference between um, the one, really a 141 probably that she would have gotten and also the difference between where she ended up, which was 8th as opposed to 7th. No, sorry, where she ended up, where she was 9th instead of 7th, over Nina Petrikina. But memorable Olympics for Anastasia Kubanova, and I'm sure she will take a lot out of this one. Um, then it was the final five. And what we knew coming into this free skate was that there were quads to be done, and the quads to be done were to be done by Adelia Petrosian. And if you've been following any of my practice notes over the past few couple of days, you will know that Adelia Petrosian has done a lot of quad toes, and she's fallen on the majority of them. Um, and so you wonder how much the adrenaline from the competition and the extra excitement and energy is going to help her potentially land those things. And you know what? In the warm up, they were pretty good. She was putting them on one foot. Were they rotated? From my position, maybe one was rotated cleanly. The other ones were either Qs or unders, but she was standing them up, which was very different than what we've seen in practices. And so we thought there would have been a potential for her to actually land those in her free skate. And if she would have landed them, and if she would have landed them cleanly, it would have been a huge game changer because of the sheer number of points she would have gotten from having 2 quad toes. But it wasn't to be. She goes and does a quad toe that was under and falls on it. And so she always has there's always a plan A, which is if she lands the first quad toe, she'll go for a second quad toe. Plan B is if she falls on the first quad toe, she actually will go and do a triple Lutz instead of the second quad toe, just to salvage yourself from having more falls, potentially. And so that's what happened. She went in and finished the program with the rest of her 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 triples, right? So it was a under rotated fall on a quad plus 7 triples. Both of her Lutzes, by the way, got an unclear edge call, which she did not get in the short program, to a bit of surprise. Sometimes the angle just doesn't capture it, and the panel today called both of those Lutzes with an exclamation point. And we've seen that with her Lutz. Her Lutz is a little bit suspect on it. I think she often goes on a flat, and that's where you get the exclamation point from. And the other thing though was I don't know if you all saw it in the on the TV broadcast or the live stream, but once she fell on the quad toe, the ice coverage got considerably smaller. I often look at the way that she does her jumps in practice, and they're often very close to the boards. She will on especially like on that triple Lutz double axle, she will hug the boards and kind of go around the edge of the boards while she's doing those double axles. If you looked at where she did a lot of those jumps to the right side of the judges, if you're facing the ice, everything got smaller, and she didn't actually come down to the last third of the ice rink for like 2.5 minutes. And when she finally did, her last jump. It was the flip. So the the ice coverage was small. She was cautious. She just at that point wanted to land the jumps. And that's what she did. And then it's opened back up again once she finished the jumps, and the step sequence was great. I actually really like that program on her. She has a charisma about her with that music that works really well, but it can't just be that step sequence. It can't just be, you know, the last minute of her program, right? There was about 3 minutes where she was skating in circles, and it was a hard it was hard to give her skating skills and composition points that were uh, that high, and that's what you saw in her components. Um, and she goes behind Amber Glenn by about half a point. She was leading Amber by a good like 4 or 5 points, and so she needed Amber needed the extra room in the free skate, which she got. So um, now going to the last four, right? Amber Glenn is still in the lead. Monet Chiba comes up, and she was very good, but again a little bit tight. The two jumps that have been giving her problems this season were the loop and the sow, and she did those just fine. But it was the triple flip triple toe at the very beginning where she just squeaked it out, and then later on the triple let's double toe double loop, she basically came to a stop at the end. She just didn't have any speed coming out. Those two cost her a good number of points, but she still had enough, right? Like her skating is incredibly good. And a lot of it was done very well. She still had enough to overtake Amber by 3 points and put the pressure on the final three. Had she skated cleanly and freely in the short and the free, you bet she would have been probably 6 to 8 points higher than where she was here. But um, Monet Chiba, first Olympics, that was how she made her case for the Olympic podium. And then we had the last three, and Alysa Liu kicked us off. I don't think any of us kind of expected her to be anything less than just a clean skate, and she did it. Um, I I will, for one, say that I have always been dubious of the return to Donna Summer this season. And it was, she debuted the season with the Gaga program, didn't really work. She went back to Donna Summer, skated a few times on the Grand Prix. It was okay. And then skated it really well in the Grand Prix final and won it. And then came back with a revived and a revised Gaga program at Nationals. Also didn't really work. And then went back to Donna Summer. And in my mind, I was like, you can't peak 3 times with that program. You peaked at Worlds, you peaked again at the Grand Prix final. How do you peak again at the Olympics? And she friggin' peaked again at the Olympics. The music just worked so well. And I think that was really the big difference. I really don't think, even with like a really good Gaga program, that it would have gotten the kind of audience response that the Donna Summer program got today. The crowd was into it from the beginning. I mean, once she did her triple sow and the music went up tempo, the crowd just never stopped clapping. It worked so well in this arena. It worked so well in the in the Olympics context. I take back again. This is like Piper and Paul in the free dance. I take back what I said about not believing that this program would work at the Olympics. It freaking worked at the Olympics, and it doesn't hurt that she skated cleanly. Um, she did get the unclear edge calls. If if Adelia Petrosian was going to get the unclear edge calls on the Lutzes, my guess was that Alysa Liu was going to get those edge calls on the flip, which she did, and that cost her a couple points. I think her technical scores were somewhere in the 79 range when she finished, and it ended up at 77. So she left the door a little bit open. It wasn't uncatchable, right? This was not a Riku Miura, Ryuichi Kihara kind of situation where you really needed to skate incredibly cleanly and then hope for some more, because who was next? Kaori Sakamoto was next. And Kaori Sakamoto can go into the 150s easy. And it was going fine. The program was really good in the first half. You started feeling a little bit of something in the step sequence. It didn't have its usual spark. And I actually felt like when she was finishing her step sequence on the other end of the rink, I was thinking, gosh, is Kaori a little cautious right now? And then my fears were a little bit ameliorated by the triple sow, because the sow has been one of the jumps that's kept given her problems this week. And so the sow went off fine. Great. She goes down to the triple flip, and it was going to be the triple flip, triple toe, the big point getter in the second half. She takes off a little inside the circle on the triple flip and hangs on to the landing in her mind, trying to figure out what to do. Because the thing is, the program layout and the program construction of the jumps has it such that she does two double toes. She does a triple Lutz double toe at the front, and then she does a double axel triple toe double toe in the second half. And in my mind, I asked this question to myself the last couple of weeks, where I'm like, why does she put the toe on the triple Lutz? Why doesn't she put the double toe on the triple flip? It makes no sense to me. Because she doesn't repeat the triple Lutz. She repeats the triple flip, and you can do two combos with the triple flip. It's fine. But but because she has two double toes, there is no other place where if she were to not do a combo on the triple flip in the second half, there was no other place where she could tack on a double toe, because it would be too many double toes. It'd be three, and that double toe wouldn't get credit. So the only thing she could have done after she didn't do the combo on the triple flip, and she goes and lands her double axel triple toe, the double toe, the only thing she could have done was to put a combo at the end of the triple loop that was not a double toe. In practice, she often will put a double toe on the combo if she misses the double toe on the double axel triple toe. So many things. But I don't think she or her team have gone through this particular scenario where she does two solo triple flips, because what happens is when you do a second triple flip or a second triple jump without it being in combination, the base value goes down, because it's a repetition of a jump without a combo. So she goes from a triple flip that is worth 5.8 points to a triple flip that's worth about 4 points. Stay with me here. There was a lot of confusion during the sort of real-time calling of everything, because I was like, "Oh my god, double toe, she should have done the double toe on the triple loop." And then I realized she couldn't because there would have been too many double toes. And then in my head, I was trying to calculate, like, okay, so what if she did a double loop instead of a double toe? She never does triple loop, double loop. It would have been an impossible task for her to tack that on. Um, could she have done a triple loop single axel? She could have, but it wouldn't have been enough points, because uh, she trailed Alyssa after that skate by 1.8 points, and the double loop is not worth that much. Um, so you do all these scenarios. The double loop wasn't worth that much. The single axle wasn't worth that much, but you know what is worth that much? A single toe. Geez, Jackie, what do you mean? Why is a single toe worth 2 points? Now that's because of what I said earlier. The triple flip, the second triple flip, when she didn't put it in combo, she lost base value points because you automatically get a 30% off. Gosh, I'm gonna get this wrong, but you get basically deducted on your base value because you didn't get that second combo in. Therefore, if she would have literally just put a single toe onto the triple flip, didn't really matter how she did it, just a single toe, she would have salvaged back that 1.8 or whatever it was that she lost when she got the repetition call on the triple flip. Plus, she would have gotten a second half bonus single toe, which was like, a couple tenths of a point. And that would have given her a base value of another 2.1 or so. And she lost by 1.8. So that's how the math worked. And again, in her brain, she was probably like, I can't do a double toe here. What if I did a double toe here? Can I even get my toe pick in to do a double toe? Probably not. Like at that point, her hip was so far out that it wasn't possible. Really wasn't possible for her to tack on a double toe. But she would have been able to tack on a single toe. And that's the thing. That was a scenario that nobody probably would have guessed she would have needed, and she just needed every single point. Now, if she did a triple flip, triple toe, and she did it perfectly, she would have won this gold medal by like 4 points. Like that's just that's just how much she lost on that jump because one, the base value went down. Two, she lost the triple toe. Three, she lost component scores because of it. Four, she lost grade of execution scores because of it. So there was a lot of things that she lost out on because of that, and that was the difference between what she scored here, which was a 147 in the free skate, and what she probably would have scored, which was probably going to be in like the low 150s, low to mid 150s, if she had been absolutely perfect. It was devastating. A little crying. There was a lot of just like general disbelief that that's what I just saw from Kaori Sakamoto in her final Olympic, competition. There was also, to be honest, a relief that she didn't fall apart in the rest of the program. And I also then had flashbacks to two world championships where she had issues with that exact combo. That triple flip, triple toe has been sort of in her brain somewhere, probably in the back of her mind. And it all started with that pop in 2024, I think, right? She skated cleanly in yeah, I think she skated cleanly in 2023. 2024 in Saitama, she popped the triple flip into a single flip, and she tacked on a triple toe at the end of it, and that was one of the things that saved her gold medal. So, yeah, uh, lots of stuff happened there. And so Kaori Sakamoto goes behind Alysa Liu by just just under 2 points, with Ami Nakai left. Ami Nakai needed to be perfect. We have seen the scores that she's gotten this season. We also knew, based on what she was scoring in components in the short program, that she was going to likely trail Kaori and Alyssa on components. And so for her to get I think it was a 149 that she needed to score. No, she needed to score a 148. Um, in order for her to get there, she needed to be perfect because she needed that technical score to overcompensate for the component score that she was likely going to get. And it was going to be around the the upper 60s and like 70 range at best, just because of what we have seen from the judges, right? So she goes out again, another clutch triple axel. It wasn't her best triple axel, but she landed it and it was all the way around. And I, looked at that and I was like, we are off to the races. I mean, Akai. Uh, and then the second pass was fine. Third pass, she goes a little too forward on the landing of her triple toe or triple lutz, and she couldn't get the triple toe off and doubled it and put her foot down. And right there, that was really it. Um, she did the rest of her program very well. It ended up being that the flip got an unclear edge call. Again, one of those that was not a surprise given how the unclear edge calls have been called today. And then she got a cue on the loop, which was obvious in real time. So those two things, plus the foot down on the doubled triple toe, right? The triple toe already had base value issues, and then the foot down on the double toe led to grades of execution issues. Plus the fact that the final spin was called a 3V, I think it was 3V or a 2V. Um, all of those things cost her 8 to 10 points, maybe. And she needed a 148, right? And she got a 140. That was the difference. She had to be perfect, and the second she wasn't, the door was closed. So that was how that all went. And I will never cease to be amazed at the fact that Alysa Liu in 2022 wanted nothing to do with skating anymore after she finished. And she comes here, is having the time of her life, and asked her coaches whether, like, that said to her coaches that it would be so fun if she could do another short program and another free skate next week in Olympic competition. She was just, she's having the time of her life, and she is also just loving skating. She is Olympic champion. It's icing on the cake. If she wouldn't have been Olympic champion, she would still had fun. Like it just, this was all about just her being out there and doing what she does best. And she did it really, really well today. That's it, folks. folks, for the 2026 Olympics. It was a roller coaster starting from the team event, and I'm just very happy that we had a women's free skate tonight that was really strong, that so many of the skaters came out to do their best, and they did. And it was really it was a great way to end. It was still devastating, trust me, that Kaori Sakamoto didn't skate to her absolute potential. Um, but Kaori Sakamoto is a legend and will always be a legend. And she has graced us with 10 incredible years of skating. And who would have thought also that when I saw Kaori in 2018 in Pyeongchang and we were watching her be the first one out in practice and doing all this stroking around the ice and making these great curves, that we would be seeing her again in her third Olympics and now winning her fourth Olympic medal. She now has 3 silver medals and a bronze, right? Yeah, 3 silver medals and a bronze. That's not too shabby, Kaori Sakamoto. I bow down to you. You have been an amazing ambassador to the sport. And I, I don't know if Kaori Sakamoto is going to Worlds, and if she isn't, I will really, truly miss her. Her presence as a competitor, her sportsmanship with everybody, her her being a mom to most of the skaters around because she's been around for so long. Um, truly, truly a special skater and a special human being. All right, I'm going to stop this before I start crying, but there's your Olympics. Alysa Liu wins the women's event. Riku Miura, Ryuichi Kihara wins the pairs event. Mikhail Shidorov wins the men's event. Laurence Fournier-Baudry and Guillaume Cicerone win dance. And Team USA takes the team event. We're not going to have any more live shows until Monday when Michelle is back with me. We're going to have a lot to talk about still. So we're going to process this over the next few days. Quick reminder that rocker pins are available if you want to support. If you want to get some Menning pins, they're ready. They have been very popular over the past few days. Go to rockerskating.com/pins. Thank you so much to everybody who has supported, who has followed, who has frankly given me really positive feedback during these Olympics. It's always good to know that what I am providing is of value to you all, and because if it weren't of value to anybody, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. So, thank you so much to all of you. Thank you for making this podcast almost triple in size over the last few weeks. I have big plans for this. I have big plans for my new website. If you tried live.rockerskating.com over the past couple of weeks, I will be making improvements to it over the next few weeks for Worlds. So thank you for being the guinea pigs. I think it generally worked very well, but it will get better. We're putting a lot of stuff into all of this for this season and beyond, and I'm so happy to have you here, and I am so happy to have this skating community be what it is. All right, I'm going to get emotional, but Thanks, as always, to John Wilson Blades and all its brands for supporting this podcast. Thank you to Tara Nichols for editing and producing this podcast. Thank you to Michelle Ellis for keeping me sane and hydrated most of these last 3 weeks, because she's been bringing me water once every few hours, and you know, making sure I'm not going completely nuts. And thank you to you all. This is Jackie Wong, Chief Skate Nerd of the Rocker Skating Podcast and rockerskating.com, and we'll talk to you again on Monday. Bye.